Morning. Last class we discussed manufacture of metallurgical coke, that means solid fuels. In this class we discussed liquid fuels, petroleum or crude oil. Petroleum or crude oil is naturally occurring liquid fuel. It is a dark brown or black colored viscous oil found in the earth crust. This is the fossil fuel. The oil is naturally floating over a brine solution, and above the oil natural gas is present. Crude oil is a mixture of paraffinic, olefinic, naphthenic hydrocarbons with a small amount of the organic compounds like nitrogen, oxygen and sulfur. Then the average composition of the crude oil is main constituents carbon 80 to 87 percentage is available, hydrogen 11 to 15 percentage, sulfur is 0.1 to 3.5 percentage, nitrogen plus oxygen is 0.1 to 0.5 percentage. Then classification of petroleum. Petroleum is classified into three types. First one is paraffinic base type crude oil. Second one is naphthenic base type crude oil. Last one is mixed base type crude oil. First one is paraffinic base type crude oil. It contains saturated hydrocarbon from methane CH4 to C35 H72 with a smaller amount of naphthenes and aromatics. Naphthenic or aspartic base type crude oil. It contains cycloparaffins or naphthenes with a smaller amount of paraffins and aromatics. Last one is mixed base type crude oil. It contains both paraffinic and asphaltic hydrocarbons. Next one is refining of petroleum or refining of crude oil. This is the purification process. The crude oil obtained from the earth crust is a mixture of oil, water and unwanted impurities. After the removal of the water and other impurities, the crude oil is separated and subjected to fractional distillation method. During the fractional distillation, the crude oil is obtained and separated from the fractional distillation set. The process of removing impurities and separating the crude oil into various fractions having the different boiling points is called the refining of petroleum. First, refining of petroleum contains first stage separation of water. This is the Cottrell process. Removal of the water from the crude oil, that process is known as Cottrell process. The crude oil from the oil well is an extremely stable emulsion of oil and water. The crude oil is allowed to flow between two highly charged electrodes where colloidal water droplets combine to form large droplets which are then separated from the oil. Then removal of harmful sulfur compounds. Sulfur compounds are removed by heating the crude oil with the copper oxide. The copper sulfate formed is separated out by filtration process. Then next stage is fractional distillation step. The purified crude oil, that means after removal of the water and impurity suspended sulfur compounds, the purified crude oil is heated to about 400 degrees Celsius in an iron retard, where the oil gets vaporized. The hot vapors are then passed into the bottom of a fractionating column. This is the fractionating column. The fractionating column is a tall cylindrical container having a large number of the trays with the chimneys, horizontal stainless steel trays. Each tray is provided with a small chimney with a loose cap. Various fractions are settled down at the various trays based on their boiling points. When the vapors of the oil go up in the fractionating column, they become cooler and gets condensed at the different trays. The fractions having higher boiling point condense at the lower tray, whereas the fractions having lower boiling points condense at higher trays. The gasoline obtained by this fractional distillation is called straight run gasoline or petrol. Name of the fractions: uncondensed gas, boiling point range below 30, range of the carbon atoms C1 to C4. Uses: it is used in the form of LPG. Then petroleum ether, boiling range 30 to 70, carbon range C3 to C7 as a solvent. Gasoline or petrol, boiling point range 40 to 120, carbon range C3 to C9, fuel for IC engines. Then naphthas, 120 to 180 boiling range of the carbon atoms C9 to C10, uses dry climate, it acts as a solvent. Then kerosene 180 to 250, carbon range C10 to C16, fuel for stove. Then diesel oil 250 to 320, range C15 to C18, diesel engine fuel. Then heavy oil 320 to 400, C27 to C30, fuel for ship.